One thing that's always fascinated me is why some people in business, in life, in investing, or in any domain can be very, very successful and other people can't, even if the services on offer, the skills on offer are very similar. And there's many reasons I think for this, but one of the key reasons I think, or one of the key mistakes people make, is often in business not having an ideal client in mind. I can remember one of the best books I've read in recent times, and I think it's one of the most underrated books in business, is called Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. Now, what Priestley shows in this book is that there's always a small number of people who are doing very well in a domain. So I'll give you an example. Let's take a yoga teacher. In most countries, a yoga teacher, say a developed country, might make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, whatever they make. But then there's those small number of yoga teachers who are so-called oversubscribed. They might charge $700, or even some of them, as he said in the book, would charge tens of thousands of dollars for a small number of elite clients. So let's say you have like so-called an elite yoga coach who says, right, I'm only going to have 10 clients per year. Each is going to pay $70,000. You might think, well, that's ridiculous. Who would pay that amount of money? But there are some people, like celebrities or other people, who, if it's marketed in the right way, would spend $70,000. So you can have a yoga teacher who's making $700,000 or $1 million and is turning clients away, sometimes interviewing people. So Priestley spoke to some people who would even turn clients away, such as their success. Because what these people kind of understand is you don't need to be all things to all people. If you're a yoga teacher charging $70,000 or $80,000 a year, but you're only going to take 10 clients a year, it doesn't matter if 99.9% of people aren't interested or think it's ridiculous. As long as you have at least 10 people a year who will do it, you're going to be successful if that's your aim, to have 10. If you're going to have 20 people want to do it, you could interview all 20 and choose 10 that match your needs. So it's the same thing with, say, something like nightclubs or bars. Nightclubs and bars, most of them go bankrupt, right? But there's a small number of bars, nightclubs and whatever who are oversubscribed, and many of them are very picky. They'll say, well, if you're coming into here, it's a beach club. I'm sorry, if you're wearing a suit, we don't want you. There's other nightclubs who will say, you have to wear a shirt and tie to get in there. If you don't wear a shirt and tie, we're not having you. So what a lot of people think is the customer is king and whatever. That's one part of it, but ultimately, being a bit selective, it can have a lot of benefits, especially if the consumer knows it's not pure marketing and it's authentic. So I can remember in my business, when I was starting out, I wasn't particularly picky for fairly obvious reasons, right? If you're starting out in an industry, you need to pay the bills, you're not established. It doesn't make sense to be too picky. Obviously, don't take it to the extreme. If you're dealing with someone who you think is a dangerous character, of course, it's never good to deal with them. But as time went on, I became more and more picky. And the interesting thing is, people kind of respond to that. If you have like investment minimums, or you say, well, this is my ideal client, are we a good match, like I put on my homepage, people respond to that. Even the people who aren't interested, they kind of they appreciate it if you're kind of upfront about it. And the people who are a good match, they think, wow, this is great, this sounds like me. And I think it's the same for anyone. Like if I wanted legal services and I was seeing, I don't know, a lawyer's website, and they were very, very clear about what kind of clients they want, how they can help, are we a good match? I think it's much better than dealing with someone who's trying to put round pegs in square holes. I just don't think that works. In the early years, it can work in any business. Beggars can't be choosers. But in the long term, I think any business or individual in business needs to understand what they can offer to people and what they expect in return. That's a fairly obvious point, but I think a lot of people do get stuck on this idea that you should just take anyone as a client. As a business, everyone should be welcome. You should just treat everyone like, the customer is king. Maybe in some industries that works, but I think deep down, most people, even on the consumer side, do appreciate it if somebody's at least a little bit selective. Okay, everyone, I've got some really exciting news today. So for a couple of years now, many people have asked me, well, look, I can't afford your minimum investments, but I really like your advice. I don't know if you can do this or you can do that, or you can help me in that way, or you can't help me in that way. I've always said, no, I can only do this or that, but I've got some really exciting news, and that's that in a couple of months before the end of the year, I will be bringing out what I'm calling the Adam Fayed Academy, which will have many new areas which will be of interest to people. So things like mentoring, tutoring, all those kind of things that people have asked me for in the past. So stay tuned. I'm going to be announcing it in the next few months, but I thought I would tell it to you guys before. Let me know if there's anything in particular that you're looking for in this academy. We're going to be focusing on many different areas, including how to invest productively, also some business areas, because that's another thing people have asked me about before. So stay tuned, and I'll keep you up to date.